Hello, everyone. Before we start, an official disclaimer that actually this is just my point of view, and also it's not related to my current company that I'm working for. It's Trivago. It's actually based on my previous experience that I have. And also, I'm benching 130 kilos, so if you want to argue with me later, as Ben says, like, I can git push force you, just in case. So yeah, hi, Danny. Thank you very much for coming and also for your presentation from last year. I want to change this iOS sticker to Android one. Yeah, that's better. Okay, who was here last year for Danny's talk? Okay, fair enough. For those who don't know, or for those who need to remember what was last year, actually, Danny explained that his company struggled with feature teams a lot. So one of the main pain points was that developers cannot actually pair program with others because usually feature teams have at least or only one developer or two developers per platform. So they couldn't do pair or more mob programming. They also converted tech lead into technical debt product manager or project manager who was dealing with technical debt in their company. Although everybody was focusing on new features, nobody actually took care about performance and speed and things related to the platform. And also he mentioned that by Harvard Business Review, 70% of cross-functional teams are actually dysfunctional. I would say that also that research shows that 70% of projects fail in the first year of development, but yeah. Okay, and I'm here, by the way. So, okay, they changed, they switched to the platform teams. So what was the result? First of all, they have collective ownership on the project, Android project that they're working on. They have less dependencies because they can do pair programming, mock programming, communicate between each other. They broke silos that they have and they prevented new one. And also they solved the problem of knowledge sharing, meaning that you can also talk with your developers and your colleagues about things that you have in your code. So why we need or why we have feature teams then? I am Android developer for 10 years, so I'm gonna give examples from my work. I was working in platform teams and feature teams as well. So I'm gonna show you now what can happen if you have platform teams. So let's say that we have a company that has Android team, backend team, iOS team, frontend team, blah, blah, blah. How those people actually communicate between each other? So there is multiple ways, but most common ones is that either every team has a tech lead or team lead, so they communicate between each other, or they have product owner, project manager, whoever. Then team leads communicate with him, or they communicate all together in some meetings like planning, demo, and so on. And here is an example of one communication that can go between product manager and me as a developer or me as a tech lead. Let's say that backend finished their work, so they prepared some endpoint for us. So now I can work on it, but then I realized that they are using PHP. And in PHP, when you want to return null or that some object doesn't exist, sometimes it happens that they are returning empty list. I don't know why. I work with two teams that work with PHP, and that happens quite a lot. So this doesn't work for me. I know that front-end team can actually handle this quite easily, but for me, I'm using JSON, for example, and this is immediately an error. And usual reply on this is like, we're gonna put it in a backlog, so they're gonna work on this next sprint. So I need to wait at least 2 weeks for that, at least. Another scenario, let's say, hey, UX and UI designers finish their work, so everything is ready, we have Figma ready, perfect, but they are using iOS icons. This happened to me at least for 5 projects that I was working on, namely this icon as well. And I really want to use material design, I want to use Android icons for this, and again, response from their side is like, it's gonna be in the backlog, so they're gonna work on this somewhere in the future. And also, It's not happening just for design and for backend developers. Literally, all communication goes with and through product manager, product owner, whatever. Whether it's related to the QA, backend, maybe I need something from the iOS side, and so on. So let's see how actually whole process of building something goes. It starts with idea, maybe product owner idea, maybe client wants something, maybe customers want something, you see some review on your product, so you have idea what to build. It can be also just some change in current feature that you have, it can be totally new feature, it can be A/B test, whatever, but you have idea that you need to work on something. So then product owners or project managers usually talk with UX and UI team to build this, just like a preview, how it should look like. And then when you know what you want to display on the screen, then it goes to the backend team and, hey, can you build an endpoint that can return this data for us? Then backend finish it. It comes to the front-end iOS and Android team, but it's always, always, always first front-end team, and then because of some reason, I really don't know why, iOS team, and then Android team gets everything. And then we are having feature branches. So we are working on our features. Then we create a pull request. Then everything is approved, and it comes to the QA team, which is finally checking what we did. And after QA approves it, then it's going to production. And although, yeah, this looks like a waterfall, but yeah, every team has a sprint, every team has a planning, demo, retrospective, refinement as well. So that's what Jess Humble would call water scrumfall. I really recommend you to actually take a look at this video. And yeah, this is something that is happening in quite a lot companies. So as a conclusion, why do we have actually feature teams is because we would like to have less dependencies, then we would like to prevent silos and to solve some problem of knowledge sharing between different platforms. This looks familiar to me, so feature teams are trying to resolve this, and platform teams also try to resolve this. I mean, like, are those same problems or same solutions? Well, no, actually, dependency in one scenario is I'm dependent on UX designer or UI designer. I need new icon. On the other side, developer would like to pair with somebody or needs an approval for his pull request. For silos, I'm going through product manager or project manager to get some changes in the API or to ask what to use. On the other side, we are going through product owners and product managers to ask, hey, can I pair with the guy in your team? And also for knowledge sharing, I don't know where is actually icon to use or what endpoint should I call. And on the other side, we would like to know, for example, if somebody already built this functionality, if we can reuse some code, we don't want to duplicate code and so on. So yeah, as I already mentioned, I was working for some company for 8 years, and we started with platform teams. So we had Android team, iOS team, and so on. At some moment, we faced the problems that I just mentioned. So I got the idea that we need a change. So we actually did a change, and we switched to the feature teams. And then after some times, we faced the exact same problems that actually Danny mentioned last year. And then we came back to the platform teams. And this is like a constant loop. We introduce new problems while solving previous one. And it can go on and on and on and on. And it's never gonna end. Maybe something else is actually a problem here. So as I already mentioned, I started developing Android applications in 2014. So I also worked in platform and feature teams and talked with people through all of those years. I also asked some people before I made this presentation, and no matter what organization of our teams are, we all would like to have clean architecture, clean code, to be an engineers and not just programmers. We would like also to write good and testable code. I really don't want to run test, it fails, I run it again, it passes. I don't want to have a test which is going to run on my machine, but when I run it on a CI, it fails. We would really therefore like to have easy CI and CD process, meaning it's going to be boring. Like Jess Humble said, the guy who actually wrote this book, he said CI and CD should be boring. So you don't think about them. You just push code and it works. It creates new release. We would like to have the opportunity to grow, to actually learn something new through our work. And all of us want psychological safety. And by the way, in 2017, Google had a research. They wanted to know what's actually main factor that helps teams to stay the same. So why people are actually changing jobs or changing teams and so on. The most important factor was psychological safety. Meaning if I was testing in production and I made a mistake, and I say to my team, hey, I made a mistake, I'm not gonna be fired. They're gonna say, okay, let's see how we can solve this problem. That was the most important thing for developers in 2017. I'm pretty sure that that's the case right now as well. On the other side, we also have some things in common that we would not like to have in our everyday work. I would say not wrong estimations. I would say personally, I don't want to have estimations at all. I don't want to be forced to give an estimation for something that I'm not sure when I'm gonna finish it. And second thing, I really don't like meaningless meetings. I'm pretty sure that everybody here can agree with me on this. We all don't want to have blockers, no matter what blockers are. Are we waiting for backend to finish endpoint? Or are we waiting for some of our colleagues to give us approval or to just take a look at our pull request? This is mine. I really don't want to have tech tickets in Jira. So I would like to resolve all problems immediately. I don't want to write it somewhere and then face it. I don't know, never. And of course, nobody wants managers to decide what should we do, how we should do it, and so on. So look at those problems that I mentioned here. Those are problems that platform teams and feature teams also face. So why we face these problems? Like, what's the reason? No. Scrum is not a problem. You are a problem. You're doing Scrum wrong. And here is how you should actually do Scrum. Maybe like this. Or like this. Everybody has their own theory. I'm, by the way, certified product owner and certified Scrum Master. You cannot tell me that I'm doing my work wrong. I have these certifications. I finished my 2 days workshop. If you want to work in McDonald's, you need to have 2 weeks of just watching it and then trying and so on. If you want to lead a product which costs millions of euros, it's only necessary to finish this 2 days workshop and you're ready to go. You're also ready to help team organize as a Scrum Master after 2 days. So I don't know if you're familiar with Cargo Cult maybe, but it really reminds me to this story. So when World War II started, there was an island in Pacific Ocean. Those people actually lived in the Stone Age. They eat vegetables, they eat fruits, they eat fish. They're living in the Stone Age. Suddenly, United States Air Force came there, built an airport, and started landing with their planes. With those planes, they also bring food, clothes, a lot of stuff. They bring 21st century with them. They were there for 5 years. Those people actually enjoyed everything. They don't speak the same language. They don't understand each other, but like United States, give them food and so on. When World War II ended, they just left. What happened is that those people actually created a cult. They thought that those airplanes and those people were gods. Gods came with big birds and landed on their land and bring them food and bring them safety and so on. So if they start building planes from woods and start wearing coconuts on their ears, pretending to have headphones, and if they build big antenna, then the gods gonna see that and they're gonna land again and they're gonna bring them everything. So what happened here is similar to the Scrum Masters, I think. Like, they were living in the Stone Age, then somebody showed them something for 5 years, and then went back. So imagine you're working something totally unrelated to the technical stuff, then you go, or you have Agile coach who's gonna explain to you something in 2 days, you're gonna get the certification, and they're gonna left. So since I already passed these tests and this certification, this is one of the examples that I faced. Here, when they try to explain what user story is and how to write user story. So by the way, what's user story? In my opinion, user story explains value to the user, explains what user will see in our application and what value he will get. So let's say that we are building some feature for WhatsApp that should be, let's say, different skin tones. Like when I want to send a sticker, I can also select the skin tone for it. So one example of the user story can be customizable sticker colors for enhanced expression. And as a WhatsApp user, I would like to be able to change the color of the sticker so I can do the following. What actually happens in companies that I was working on, and this is, by the way, real example that I faced last year. So we have tech user stories. Example, remove location permission. With the explanation, given a permission in Android manifest, when a permission exists, then remove a permission. This is a real example. And by the way, this company is here. I'm not gonna say which company, yeah. My point is that it really doesn't matter what organization we have if we don't have good basis. If we have these problems, if our user stories are actually text stories, if product owners are writing a story for Android developer, for iOS developer, for web developer, we can be organized as a feature teams, but we are not working on a user value. They are still working the old way. So neither feature team, neither platform team is gonna resolve those problems. I think that everybody forgets what actually Agile way of working. By the way, Agile is not a noun. And people who actually signed Agile Manifesto, like those 17 white middle-aged men, they were all programmers. Somebody of them actually practiced test-driven development, extreme programming. 2 of them were from Scrum. There was also a pragmatic Dave there. And from 17 of them, I already know and I found 7 of them speaking against nowadays Agile. Because everything now is just a certification, unfortunately. This is a book called Clean Agile by Robert Martin, aka Uncle Bob. And he explains that the real Agile way of working is small teams doing small amount of work in small iterations, creating or asking for feedback as soon as possible. So that's real Agile way of working. This is not real way of working. This is large enterprise scale Scrum. How we can actually organize ourselves the way that we would like to work, to practice, I don't know, clean code, to have a clean architecture, to write meaningful tests and so on, if we are just part of this big organization. By the way, the most important part here, developers, are here. This is a scaled Agile framework for a lean Agile mindset. I don't know how many of you actually work with SAFe. Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, developers, here. This is Accenture. A lean plus agile plus scaling plus industry constraints. Agile Scrum 1.1. Can you find developers here? Yeah, here. You remember last 3 slides? They're just one line in this graph. So my point is, I'm really sorry to say this, but I don't think the team organization actually here is the main problem. I think that cargo cult that I explained, that weak base for developers as well, like we are putting tech stuff or bugs that we are facing down there in the backlog. So at one moment we're gonna work on it, or some internee or junior is gonna work on it. We are allowing process over engineering here. And we don't have real agile way of working. So, what can we or what can you do, in my opinion, of course? First step is to focus on those things. Like those things are common for everybody. And it really doesn't matter what we are working on right now, what product we are working on, what's organization, and so on. So how to actually achieve this? For craftsmanship, I really advise you to, at start of the project, you use library like a consist. I don't know if you know this library, but it's actually super useful to set up architectural rules. So you can write tests and say, all use cases should be in this module, or all DTO classes should be internal, or you should not have dependency from a domain layer to the presentation layer, and so on. You can use detect also for static analysis, sonar as well to see duplications and so on. You are not making compromises with quality. I would like to mention DORA research. I don't know if you know about this, but actually there is also a really great book called Accelerate. And they studied, I think, like 1,000 companies. Last research covered 36,000 developers, and they tried to measure what actually matters the most if we talk about code quality. And really, really, you should read this book, but you should not make compromises with the quality. And loosely coupled architecture will allow you to have a scalable project, meaning that you can change some stuff there. Somebody starts, for example, with Volley. They would like to convert to retrofit. Now, Cater is popular, so let's convert to that. If you have an architecture that allows you, it's going to be way, way easier. Good and testable code. Who thinks that we should have 100% test coverage? Nobody. One. Thank you. Test coverage should be a side effect of proper development. It should not be a goal. If you are just doing this because of the 70% of 80% of test code coverage, you end up with assert true. So you should enforce pair and mob programming instead of feature branching, and when you see a bug, please fix it immediately. If we talk about CI/CD, I really advise you to research trunk-based development, but real trunk-based development, like not create a new branch and then work for some time, like, I don't know, 2 days, 3 days a week, and then merge it. So that's not real trunk-based development. You should develop in a way that you always have, if some product owner comes and say, I want a release immediately, you can just build it and deploy it. So that's a different way of developing stuff. And you should use feature flags, meaning you should hide things that you didn't finish yet behind feature flags. Career growth, really important thing. That's why I think it's important to have either team lead or tech lead to talk with him about weak points, to actually evaluate knowledge and to create some kind of career path where he can actually help you to achieve something there. And psychological safety, really important. I think that we all should raise awareness, we should lead by example, and we should encourage open communication. I think this is really, really important, and this is something that we can do no matter what. Step 2 is to fight against bad things. So, for wrong estimations, first of all, a really good YouTube video from GoToConference called No Estimate by Alan Holub. So you should check it out definitely. Vasco Duarte also wrote a book about this. But if you're forced to do estimations, just please calculate time that you need for tests, for manual tests if you have a QA as well, for unexpected things that can happen and always happens, and so on. But do not promise something that you cannot achieve. Like if you say maybe, product owner will hear, yeah, for sure, in 2 days. Meaningless meetings. Sometimes they're forced by the organization. Like safe things that we should have refinements and plannings and demo and retrospective every 2 weeks. What you can do is actually to make them have any sense. Like if you're already forced to go to the refinement, use it to say what's wrong. Or use it to say, hey, I like this, let's do that. You can also help your organization understand how much some meeting costs. Let's say that we have a meeting of an hour, so that's 1 hour of working, and we can actually calculate how much everybody is paid, so 1 hour times 20 people that are in that meeting, where only 2 people actually speaks. Yeah, we can help them understand. And we should also raise awareness of this. For blockers, if those blockers are related to the work that you have, and for example, you are waiting for somebody to review your pull request, introduce work in progress limit. Help them resolve their problems so they can focus and they can help you on your problems. And please, if you're not working on something, that doesn't mean that you cannot help for that. So do that. And tech tickets in Jira, I think that you should think of this if you already have tech tickets, you should think of that while you're doing estimations, and also for managers that are deciding, just raise awareness, and yeah, that's everything that you can do. Now, if you made those things right, then we can talk about team organization. So ask yourself, now I'm talking about whether you should use feature teams or platform teams. If you have one product, why you should have feature teams then? Or if you have multiple products, but they are different. If you have multiple products, but they are not really one product. So for example, you have iOS application and Android application, but they are totally different. They have different features and different users. If they're actually the same, then you should ask yourself, do you always have enough job for everybody? Meaning, will backend developer help you once, and then you're not gonna have job for him for next 2 months? Or he has full-time job of 8 hours. But even when he has 8 hours job, is it related to you as an Android developer? Or he's maybe changing something which you will not see at all? So if he's working on, I don't know, performance or migration from one database to another, but the endpoint that you are calling is the same, and you're not gonna change anything in your code, do you really need feature teams? I don't think so. Is your product owner really good, or is he just product manager or project manager with a hat? Does he write user story that covers all platforms? Is he really taking care about user value? Or is he writing, as an Android developer, I won't show that? Or as a product owner, yeah. That's maybe better example. And are you allowed to be an engineer, or product manager is going to tell you, you should do that, and you should do that, and you should call him and him and him and so on? If everything is yes, then why not feature teams? But if anything of this list is no, then I think that you should try something else. So, in my opinion, I didn't work with this company, but I don't know if you know Zedge, like the #1 personalization app. They have Android application, they have iOS application, they have a web application. So you can set for Android alarm, wallpaper, screensaver, you can set ringtones and so on. I'm pretty sure that iOS cannot set all of those things. They recently added that you can set some of those things, but it was not the case all the time. And web browser, like you cannot set alarm for web browser for sure. So yeah, this is one product, but it's actually 3 products. So in this case, I really don't think that a feature for user is gonna be the same for all platforms. And again, in my opinion, I don't work with these companies, but those companies I know that have the same product in iOS, in Android, web application, maybe desktop application as well. For them, in my opinion, makes sense to have feature teams because they can introduce new feature, like I mentioned WhatsApp, for all platforms at the same time. So, in conclusion, related to the feature teams, ask yourself, what are you trying to build? Like, are you trying to build the exact same product on all platforms or not? Are those mostly UI changes? So, for example, you finished your product and now you're just A/B testing whether this button should be blue or should be black or should be white or should be located here or there, but the feature is already there. So we really don't need backend developer in that moment because we are just changing UI. How often are you changing a functionality? That's a really important thing. So when you are not changing functionality, usually an UX designer is not important at all as well, or backend developer. And do you have same functionality as web iOS application? If you don't have, why to have feature teams? So yeah, this talk was planned to be 40 minutes, but I think that I managed to actually explain everything in 33 minutes. So my name is Petar Ljubic. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can send me an email. We can also talk after this presentation as well. I recently started using X as well, but I'm just reposting stuff that I found useful. At the end, I just want to say again, everything depends, and you should first fight against problems that you have under the hood, and then you should think about team organization. Thank you.